Good evening. This is Majo Television coming to you live. My name is Comfort or Shinaike. Here are tonight's breaking stories making headlines across the globe, Africa, Nigeria, and here in Ondo State. We take the headlines. Russian drones breach Polish airspace. NATO warns of rising tensions. Conservative activist Charles Kirk shot dead in Utah. Qatar warns Israeli military escalation could destabilize Gulf in Africa. UN raises alarm over worsening hunger crisis in West and Central Africa. Nationwide blackout as Nigeria's power grid collapses again. Federal government delays fuel tax law enforcement until 2026. Governor Ayedatiwa meets Hausa community leaders, pledges security for all. Our church attack suspects denied bail as trial set for October. The news in detail. Tensions are rising along NATO's eastern flank after Poland reported multi-drone incursions from Russia into its airspace. According to Poland's Ministry of Defense, the drones crossed over from Belarus, a key Russian ally, and were tracked by Polish radar systems before being forced to retreat. The incursions come just days after Warsaw accused Moscow of trying to destabilize its borders by encouraging migrant flow and conducting cyber attacks.
Poland says it has shot down Russian drones that violated its airspace during an aerial attack on Ukraine. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk took to social media, saying the drones posed a direct threat. Poland's armed forces was on heightened alert today because of what they describe as massive airstrikes on Ukraine. Meanwhile, NATO says it is consulting closely with Polish leaders. This marks the first time a NATO member has fired shots in the war.
Ale ta sytuacja, która stawia nas wszystkich bliżej otwartego konfliktu, bliżej niż kiedykolwiek po II wojnie światowej. Mamy pełnoskalową wojnę za naszą granicą, ukraińsko-rosyjską, ale mamy już coś, co przekracza granicę zwykłych prowokacji u nas, na naszym niebie. I może dzisiaj trzeba znowu bardzo głośno i wyraźnie powiedzieć. Polska ma dzisiaj wroga politycznego, który nie kryje swoich wrogich zamiarów za wschodnią granicą. Jest to pierwszy przypadek, kiedy doszło do zestrzelenia rosyjskich dronów nad terytorium państwa NATO. I dlatego wszyscy nasi sojusznicy sytuację traktują bardzo poważnie. Nie odnotowaliśmy żadnych ofiar.
Just today we have seen a reckless and unprecedented violation of Poland and Europe's airspace by more than 10 Russian Shahid drones. Europe stands in full solidarity with Poland. Putin's message is clear, and our response must be clear too. We need more pressure on Russia to come to the negotiation table. We need more sanctions. We are now working on the 19th package in coordination with partners. We're particularly looking at phasing out Russian fossil fuels faster. We're looking at the shadow fleet and at third countries.
Of course, whether it was intentionally or not, it is absolutely reckless. It is absolutely dangerous. But as I said, the full assessment is ongoing. And to Putin, I mean, my message is clear. Stop the war in Ukraine. Stop violating allied airspace. And know that we stand ready. That we are vigilant and that we will defend every inch of NATO territory.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Poland was deliberately targeted in the Russian drone attack overnight. On social media, Zelensky said the strike was no accident and offered to help Poland strengthen its defenses.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg described the incident as provocative and dangerous, warning that any direct attack on Polish territory would trigger NATO's collective defense obligations under Article 5. While no injuries or damage were reported, Poland has deployed additional troops and air defense units to its border towns, and residents have been told to remain alert. Russia has not officially responded to the allegations, but analysts believe the move may be an attempt to test NATO's resolve. The incident highlights growing fears that the Ukraine conflict could spill over into neighboring countries, especially as Western allies continue to send weapons and military support to Kyiv. Conservative activist and Trump ally Charlie Kirk has been shot and killed while speaking at Utah Valley University. The 31-year-old founder of Turning Point USA was struck in the neck by a sniper's bullet during his American combat tour. He died shortly after despite emergency treatment. Authorities say the shot was fired from a rooftop near the campus. A manhunt is underway with the FBI assisting local police.
We do have some breaking news coming into our newsroom right now. Charlie Kirk has passed away as a result of the shooting incident that occurred this afternoon in Utah Valley University. That is where he was speaking, part of his Prove Me Wrong series. He'd taken the stage. He'd only been on stage for about 20 minutes doing a Q&A with the audience members there, and that is when there was a single gunshot. That gunshot hit him in the neck. They rushed him to the hospital, and we were told for a while he was in critical condition. Obviously, they were doing their best to save his life, and as a result of the way he was hit and where he was hit, we're getting word now that he has passed away.
President Donald Trump called Kirk a legendary patriot and ordered flags flown at half-staff nationwide. Utah's Governor Spencer Kirk described the incident as a political assassination. The killing has sparked widespread condemnation across party and renewed concern over political violence in the United States. Qatar has issued a strong warning that Israel's continued military strike in the Middle East are destabilizing not only the Gulf but also African regions with close economic and cultural ties. In a statement released by its foreign ministry, Doha accused Israel of breaching international law and said the silence of the international community was enabling more bloodshed. Qatar is urging the Arab League, the African Union, and other partners to form a united front in calling for an emergency ceasefire. Officials say the conflict is worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza and neighboring countries, while also threatening food and energy supply across the wider region. Analysts note that Qatar's statement is among the most forceful it has issued in years, signaling its growing frustration with global inaction. As one of the region's main mediators, Qatar's position could significantly influence upcoming diplomatic efforts at the United Nations and other international platforms. The United Nations is sounding the alarm over what it described as an unfolding hunger catastrophe in West and Central Africa. A new UN report warns that more than 50 million people are at risk of acute food insecurity due to conflicts, climate shocks, and declining humanitarian funding. Countries most affected include Mali, Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, and northern Nigeria, all of which are battling ongoing insurgencies that have displaced millions. Farmers say erratic rainfall and flooding have destroyed crops, while food prices remain at record high in local markets. The UN says aid agencies are running out of funds, forcing nutrition centers for children to shut down in some areas. Malnutrition rates among children under 5 are already above emergency thresholds, and health workers fear thousands of preventable deaths if urgent action is not taken. The UN is appealing for billions of dollars in additional support from donors, warning that time is running out before the lean season worsens the crisis. Experts are calling for long-term investments in climate-resilient farming and stronger regional security to ensure farmers can safely cultivate their land. Millions of Nigerians were thrown into darkness earlier today after the national electricity grid suffered yet another collapse. The transmission company of Nigeria confirmed the incident, blaming a generator fault that cascaded across the system. At its peak, power generator dropped from over 4,000 megawatts to just 273 megawatts. Partial restoration has begun, with Abuja and Lagos receiving supply from the Shiroro hydropower plant, but most other regions remain without electricity. The blackout has disrupted hospitals, businesses, schools, and essential services, with many forced to rely on costly diesel generators. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has warned that repeated blackouts are crippling industries and reducing competitiveness. Citizens, meanwhile, have taken to social media to express frustration, demanding urgent reforms. The government insists that new projects, including solar initiatives and gas plants, will eventually stabilize supply, but many Nigerians remain skeptical. Ondo State Governor Lucky Orimiso Ayedatiwa has met with the leaders of the Hausa community in Akure amid rising concerns over insecurity. The meeting held at the government house brought together traditional chiefs, youth leaders, and religious representatives from the Hausa-speaking population. The governor reassured the delegation that the administration is committed to protecting the lives and property of all residents, regardless of ethnic and religious background. He stressed the importance of unity and cooperation among communities, adding that divisive narrative only worsens insecurity. Community leaders welcomed the governor's assurance but pressed for more visible action. They requested the increased police patrol, tighter border security, and stronger collaboration with local vigilante groups to curb crime. The meeting is being seen as part of government's broader efforts to build trust among communities and prevent ethnic tension from escalating. This week, a federal high court in Abuja denied bail applications from 5 suspects accused of involvement in the attack of the 2022 St. Francis Catholic Church massacre, which left over 40 worshippers dead and many others injured in Owo, Ondo State. The court ruled that the gravity of the charges, including terrorism, unlawful possession of arms, and conspiracy, meant that releasing the suspect on bail could pose a national threat to security. The case has been adjourned to October 19, 2025, when the trial will formally begin. The Ondo State government has praised federal authorities and the Department of State Services for pursuing the case vigorously. Governor Ayedatiwa said justice for the victims remained a priority and pledged state support for families affected by the tragedy. Survivors and families of victims, many of whom still bear the emotional and physical scars of the attack, say they are hopeful that the trial will bring closure. Human rights groups are also calling for witness protection and faster court proceeding to ensure justice is neither delayed nor denied. And that was the news on Majo television. I am Comfort or Shinaike. Thank you for watching.